Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. So let's get into it. So today we are going to be talking about migration skills partnerships, which are something that have become, really hot recently on the migration agendas, especially if we talk about migration and development, and if we talk about finding new and more legal pathways for migrants. We also know that in many countries around the world today, particularly, for example, in the EU, there are a number of skills shortages and a number of labor market shortages. And it's really helpful to find, good, well-managed ways to make sure that migrants can come in and also fill those positions. This is also something that a lot of countries of origin have been looking for some time. They are looking for and they are interested in more legal pathways for their own citizens to be able to migrate. And this is something that they're also looking for in cooperation agreements with countries, for example, in the EU, but also in other countries. If they are going to work with the EU, for example, or if they are going to agree on readmission agreements, meaning that they're willing to take back their returned citizens and maybe even sometimes returned citizens from other countries, then they also want something positive to come out of that. And this is one of the tools that the European Union and maybe other countries also now have at its disposal. So what are skills partnerships? So skills partnerships are cooperative frameworks that aim to align the skills development of workers, particularly migrants, with labor market needs in both the countries of origin and destination. Now, these partnerships involve multiple stakeholders, including governments, often educational institutions, employers, obviously the migrant workers themselves. And what they want to try to do is to ensure mutual benefits for all of these different parties involved. Now, these skills partnerships kind of directly feed into the Objective 18 of the Global Compact for Safe and Orderly Migration that specifically addresses the need to invest in skills development and facilitate the recognition of skills, qualifications, and competencies, advocating for the creation of skills partnerships. All right, so this is really the implementation of one of these key components of the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly, and Regular Migration. Now, the primary aim of these partnerships is to create a balanced and beneficial migration system that meets the needs of the labor market demands in destination countries while also addressing the development needs in countries of origin. So these partnerships seek to prevent issues such as skills shortages in the origin countries and the underutilization or exploitation of migrant workers in destination countries. So it is really being careful of these things and working against that. So they aim to ensure that migrant workers' skills are properly utilized and recognized, ensuring decent work conditions and protecting migrant workers' rights. So essentially, these programs are a way for countries to work together with employers and maybe others to actually bring people from countries of origin. So you could think about perhaps countries like Morocco or Tunisia or Egypt and bring them to countries like Germany to fill specific skills shortages. They are then often trained already in the country of origin and then brought to the country of destination. Now, this training could be skills trainings of any kind. It could be language training, it could be other things, or it could be also doing part of the training in the country of origin and part of the training in the country of destination. But part of the key components of this are that the origin countries are not just paying for the skills development of these people who will then leave. The idea is that countries of destination, countries like Germany or the Netherlands, will be the countries that actually pay for the skills development because they'll be the ones who are also getting to utilize those skills. Now, there are definitely pros and cons of these skills partnerships. So what are some of the positive aspects of these skills partnerships? So it enhances skills development. So they facilitate the acquisition of new professional skills or the improvement of existing skills for the migrants or would-be migrants. training is often conducted in the country of origin, building upon prior experience and education. And the idea is that they maybe not only train people that will definitely migrate, but also people that might not migrate, and those skills can then also stay in the country. So there are a number of economic benefits here. So origin countries benefit by strengthening their skills development infrastructure and creating a pool of trainees who can meet both domestic and international needs. Destination countries, on the other hand, benefit by addressing labor shortages with skilled migrants who are well prepared for the job market. Another big pro is, it's legal and safe migration. So by creating clear legal pathways for migration, skills partnerships help manage regular migration and reduce the risks associated with irregular migration. And now this supports safer and more predictable migration processes. So here that we see, mutual benefits for all parties. So the skills partnerships ensure that all stakeholders benefit. So the origin country enhances its workforce capabilities, the destination country gains access to necessary skills, and the migrants receive higher returns on their skills investments, at lower risks and lower costs, and they are able to make more money and perhaps also work in a better environment abroad. Now, of course, the picture is not only rosy. There are also cons and costs in this situation. Now, many of these programs have high costs and complexity. So implementing skills partnerships can be expensive and administratively complex. The costs of training and matching candidates can be significant, especially if the process is not well coordinated. And a lot of these programs are being paid for by development cooperation money, but what we would really like to see in the future is that the private sector is getting more and more involved, and that it is actually the employers that will pay for the training of the people who they will end up employing. And this is probably the next step that we need to see in these skills partnerships. So there are also scalability issues here. So many existing partnerships are small scale, they're fragmented, and scaling up these initiatives to meet broader labor market needs has often proven difficult, often due to the lack of sufficient involvement from employers early in the process. There is also a risk of potential skills drain, all right? So skills partnerships might deplete the origin countries of their skilled workforce, negatively impacting their local economies and development. And this is just something that needs to be well managed and made sure that, the people that are coming are not depleting these skills and that others are also being trained. There are also regulatory barriers that we see coming into place here. So complex labor migration systems and regulatory barriers can impede the effectiveness of skills partnerships. So ensuring that migrant skills meet both the needs of the employers and the immigration requirements of destination countries can remain a challenge. And this can be more challenging in some countries than others. So for example, in a country like Germany, they actually have a lot of pilot projects going on right now that are actually very much going in the right direction. But Germany in general is a country with a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of regulation, perhaps in environments that other countries don't have, that can also just make these skills partnerships sometimes more cumbersome and more complicated than they need to be. Not only because of perhaps the immigration law, but just the way labor markets work in Germany and the types of certifications that people need and the way that jobs are applied for example. So this can be easier in some countries and more difficult in other countries. Now, what are some of the best practices that countries should be doing and what you want to be doing when creating a good skills partnerships? You really want to make sure that there's early employer involvement in these schemes. So engage employers from the onset to ensure that the training and selection processes align with their needs. This helps in creating more effective and targeted training programs. So you also want to make sure that you have public-private cooperation. So fostering collaboration between the public sector and the private sector to share the costs and the benefits of this type of migration is really important. So this can include financial incentives for companies, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, to participate in skills partnerships. You also want to make sure that the training programs are really tailored to the needs. So designing training programs in the origin countries that are specifically tailored to the skills required by the employers in the destination countries is extremely important. And this ensures that the migrants are already job ready upon arrival, and that they will not only have a job, but they will succeed in those jobs once they have them. Now, there are a number of pilot projects and success stories that we can also learn from. So implemented pilot projects, are good. We should make sure that we do those to test and demonstrate the effectiveness of these partnerships. And sharing success stories can also help build trust and really encourage more employers to participate in these kinds of programs. Now, there are definitely some pitfalls to avoid. You want to make sure that you do not neglect employer needs. So avoid involving employers too late in the process or not addressing their specific concerns adequately. This can lead to ineffective partnerships and unmet expectations. You want to, try to avoid high administrative burdens, so simplify administrative processes to make it easier for employers and migrants to navigate these systems. So overly complex procedures can really deter participation both of the migrants, but also of the employers. You also really want to make sure that you don't overlook the regulatory alignment. So you need to ensure that qualifications and skills developed through skills partnerships are recognized by the immigration and labor systems of the destination countries, and that you're not just training a lot of people with great skills that are not going to be able to be used in the country of destination because of regulatory issues or bureaucratic issues. So if you have misalignment here, this can result in qualified migrants not actually being able to work and use their skills. You also want to make sure that there's some kind of continuity of support. So ongoing support for both migrants and employers is crucial. So this includes language training, cultural integration, and assistance with regulatory compliance to ensure long-term success. Now, there are a lot of examples of pilot projects that have also been quite successful that are going on now and have also gone on in the past. So, for example, Germany with German Development Cooperation has really been involved in a number of these projects. One of these is called the TAM project. So the project is called Towards a Holistic Approach to Labor Migration Governance and Labor Mobility in North Africa. So this is a project specifically focused on North African countries. So it's focused on Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia, and is open to other North African countries for sub-regional activities. So there are a number of different partners here. And Belgian Development Cooperation is also involved in a component of this. We have ministries of labor and professional integration. We have agencies for employment. We have ministries for immigration and expatriate affairs. So you can have a lot of different cooperation partners in these kinds of projects. This project is trying to take a holistic approach to labor migration in terms of both the technical dimensions, so looking at governance frameworks, skills recognition and qualifications, looking at statistical data and information systems, and looking at what's going on with end beneficiaries, so looking at the integration of foreign workers into the labor market and assistance to national workers seeking employment abroad. So there are a lot of different things going on here. Some of the really specific objectives of this project is to increase mutually beneficial legal migration and mobility in these countries. The idea is to establish policy, legislative, and institutional and regulatory frameworks in the field of legal migration and mobility, in particular, those aiming at enhancing migrant worker rights and combating forced labor, child labor, and slavery. They want to improve mechanisms for assessment, certification, validation, and recognition of migrant qualifications and skills. They also want to improve migration-related knowledge and data management in the field of legal migration and mobility, and to establish and improve mobility schemes more generally, as well as to help to improve cooperation between relevant stakeholders in the field of legal migration and mobility, in particular with regard to job placement. Another project that's being run right now is called the PAM project, and this is called the Partnership Approaches for Development-Oriented Vocational Training and Labor Migration, and this is actually targeted at Ecuador, Nigeria, Vietnam, Jordan, and Kosovo, and working together with Germany. There's also another project called the Match Project, which is working together with Nigeria and Senegal, with countries like Belgium and Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and Italy. So have a look at some of these. There are a lot more out there, but these are pilot projects that give us some learning for the future. But I do think that skills partnerships are things that we seriously need to be thinking about scaling up and making sure that we have more of these legal pathways for migration in areas where we have very, very clear skill shortages. It's a win-win for everyone. If you yourself have any experience with any of these skills partnerships, we would love to hear about it. Please do comment below or tell us maybe about other partnerships that I haven't covered here in this video. Of course, if you found the video useful, feel free to share it around, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that we upload on a regular basis on different migration issues on this channel. And I definitely hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.